Cam. Let's get this out of the way. I am the academic. Okay, we're getting this out of the way quickly. And as you can tell, I am not wearing the very cool jacket that Cam was wearing. Instead, I am wearing the corporate colors. I'm from the University of Sydney, so it's black, white, and the beautiful ochre. A few things you need to know about me as we get started today, besides the fact that I'm the academic. The second thing you need to know is that I'm an AI researcher. You can tell that by the fact that I have very big glasses. We're all nerds. The bigger the glasses, the bigger the nerd. And my time is spent in meaning making and preparations. While I do research AI, what I spend most of my time is talking to global CEOs, Nobel Prize winners, heads of state, talking to them about how the world's changing and what's the space in which this technology plays out. And I'm here today to tell you a little bit about what you need to know next. They only gave me about 15 minutes, so I'm going to tell you a little bit about what you need to know in the age of AI, because that's pretty much all I have time for. But one thing I'll set you up with is that English is clearly not my first language, or my second, or my third. So if at any point during the next 10 minutes you cannot understand what I'm saying, it's just the way it's going to be. Because after 20 years in Australia, this is really the best I can do. You will all laugh politely and we will move on. Because I do want to tell you a little bit about AI. I've been on a journey to try to understand this over the past decade. And for most of the past year, the conversations that we were having, whether it was on the front line or in the boardroom, because AI does touch everything in my organization and in yours, has been about the fact that you just couldn't fake it anymore, speaking the language of tech, that is. You needed to be AI fluent. But that was last year. This year, we're seeing the conversation shift around how do you make AI work. And a bit like that lady, staring into that chasm, we call that in Australia Schiff's Creek, because that's what we're up against. You, your team, and your organization will need to make AI work. So for that, I have to tell you that you're all in for a balancing act. No matter what industry you're in, you will all be faced with two conflicting stories. That is, making a balancing out. I can pretend that I didn't know that that was coming, but I did. They said, do something dramatic, so that was the best I could come up with. And I have to say the weather in New York was meant to accompany me. They said it would rain around 4:30, so I was waiting for that. It didn't happen, but still. What I'm here to tell you is that there are two sides to this story, and I know these two stories will clash, and you'll see them clash. And it always sounds like it's a bit of a boxing match, but it's much more like that tightrope walk that I was describing before. You will need to make trade-offs, and you will need to fight productivity and in that balance. So let me tell you about these two stories, because on the one hand, you'll need to get all the efficiency gains out of AI. And on the other hand, you all in this room are bringing your expertise, and you want to draw and grow that expertise. So AI promises you that you will do more with less. But what if less can also mean less attention, less care, maybe ultimately less expertise? So let me paint the picture for you, because on the one hand, the number is 90% on the screen, but in this room, I know that number is 100% of people in this room say that Gen AI will save you time. And when you're using Gen AI, it saves you time. Not only that, but we know it increases productivity. And kind of the conservative numbers around this are around 66% increase in productivity from Gen AI tools. We know this. But what if working faster might also mean that you're paying less attention? You might have met these people. We call them vibers, right? The people who kind of outsource their thinking to AI. It's the looks good to me. You've all received some of their work, like people on your team who produce what we now affectionately know as work slop. And about 40% of you would have encountered work slop in your inbox, whether that's something that was carelessly made or whether the 2 bullet points you asked for are actually a 20-page report you do not have time to read. right? So what if this leads to less expertise? Because as we do that, we also know that offloading some of this work, and this is a study that's been peddled a lot, and you would have heard about this study from MIT that tells you that when you're offloading work to AI, it also decreases brain activity. Yeah, we can take that, but what if that persists after you stop using AI? Because research shows us that reduced brain activity persists after you stop using AI. But on the other hand, I can tell you that we can do stuff faster with AI. It definitely increases efficiency. Not only that, it increases efficiency so much that many executives, and that number on average is around 60%, much higher in some countries like Australia, believe that AI will take on some entry-level tasks. But then what happens when less graduates are hired and we develop maybe less people on our team? What happens to expertise in our organizations in the long run? So again, this tension between efficiency and expertise, all of you will face this in your organizations, in your team. AI promises efficiency gains, but it can equally erode expertise when you're offloading work to AI and not thinking critically about how you develop it. I said that a lot of my time is spent with CEOs and Nobel Prize winners and heads of state and head chefs alike and Supreme Court justices and jugglers and other juggernauts. It is true. Long story for another time. I've brought a few of these quotes to give you an example. For this year's work, we spoke to about 150 of these leaders, people like Raphael Sank, who runs a large creative agency in South America. And he was telling us that, hey, AI seems to be making my senior talent a lot better, my senior people a lot better, but my juniors are getting much worse. So how will you ensure that in your organization, those equal benefits are reaped across the organization? Your juniors are getting just as good and are learning how to use these tools well, much like your senior people can. As I said, we talked to a lot of people. This is Rose. Rose is the president of WPP in Australia. And he told us every single one of us will need to understand where that line is. What should be imagined by humans and what should be automated? Where can AI help us? And when it comes to the creative process, these are the sort of places where we figure out together where that line is. We spoke to, as I said, a lot of people. We spoke to everyone. This is Robert Thompson. He runs a company you might have heard of called News Corp. Robert has been in charge before that of the Financial Times and places like the Wall Street Journal, and he's seen waves of technology wash through those industries. And I got to talk to him for quite a while about AI. And when it came to AI, he spoke about the fact that AI will not only change the way you work for each and every one of you, but it can also be a form of existential challenge. For those of us who work with knowledge, or for those of us who work in creative industries, AI changes how we see ourselves and what we understand our work to be. And as you're heading into this decade of disorientation, it's not just about the work that you do. It's also about how you're changing and how you're meeting this challenge. Let me bring you a couple more quotes. This is Michael. Michael Sprenger, he runs Sony AI. Now, Sony is a tech-forward organization, and if anyone knows about AI, Sony AI would know about AI. And even for him, he said that what is really, really important is to think not just about how you do AI to things that you're already doing. And all of you are using a range of tools to automate some of the work that you're doing. But how can you think about how you set up your team, how you set up your organization so it can take advantage of AI? That is a people problem, not a technology problem. How do we reorganize ourselves to take advantage of some of the tools that you'll hear about tonight? And Nicole, who heads up people at IBM globally, we get to spend time with Nicole every year. And every year she comes up against this challenge. How do you manage efficiency, expertise? How do we bring this together? This year, last year when we spoke to Nicole, she said, Sandra, I think I was also wrong. you will make mistakes along the way. In that trade-off between efficiency and expertise, in finding that right skill set, the right expertise, the right way to automate, the right way to imagine and work creatively, you will almost also make mistakes. I think getting used to this idea that you are wrong is important, because we imagined worlds in which we will have human workers and digital workers. We imagined worlds in which we have humans that are augmented by AI, and who knows what's just around the corner. And last but not least, this is also an opportunity to be deliberate about the work that you do. Meredith Whittaker runs a company called Signal. I think we were in the US now, so if you're working in government, you definitely have this app on your phone, I hear. Too soon? Maybe too soon. But the idea here is that you will all be experimenting. You'll hear about wonderful technologies today, and you'll all be experimenting. But as you try out these many things, it's an opportunity to also improve workflows, improve processes, improve the ways in which you're being creative. So move a little bit slowly, try all the things out, and fix things along the way. That is a huge opportunity in that balancing act between efficiency and expertise. So that's a good message, by the way, from Meredith as you step onto that tightrope walk, because I know that navigating this age of AI sounds a bit challenging. When Cam asked you at the beginning how many people think this is the most disorienting time of your careers, most of the hands went up, and the other ones were going, well, it's probably tomorrow, so I might just hold back on that. Yes, it can be the most disorienting time of your careers, but it could also be the most impactful. As you're entering this age of AI, you'll need to find your balance, you'll need to make it work, but you shouldn't really worry because the future is bright. Ish. Okay, I'm a cheerful pessimist. People tell me not to forget about the cheerful bit. We're all gonna die, but it's AI cats all the way down, so we're good. The future is brightish because it's not all complex and it's not all uncertain. By the way, I usually get into solution mode around the minute 14 in my presentation, and from there on we go into solutions. But we're on a very tight schedule today, and they gave me exactly 15 minutes. So what I can offer you is the skills horizon. This is a very large piece of research where we not only talk to hundreds of global CEOs and Nobel Prize winners and heads of state, but we also analyze everything that happens in The Economist, in the Harvard Business Review, best business books of the year, South by Southwest. I'm heading to Texas tomorrow, y'all. And it contains the wisdom from everyone we could ask about how to be successful in this period. And you'll find skills there that you need for the age of AI, everything from tech fluency to cultivating taste to things like unlearning, even some space business thrown in for the mix. I see a few people are trying to take a picture of that. I will ask you to actually steal this. So at the University of Sydney, we do not condone theft, but in this instance, all our insights are yours. My slides, the entire report, it's about 100 pages, so please think twice before you print it out, but by all means, download it. We encourage you to steal this and to stay balanced and keep learning. Today will set you up on that journey. Thank you very much. My name is Sandra Peter, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.